You are now watching the Gurus Productions. Welcome to a new episode of the Guru Perspective, and I'm your host, the Guru himself, and I have a few things on my mind that I want to discuss today. First and foremost, I want to get into a few things that happened in the NFL. You know, some good news. Well, some news is good for some, at least. And I want to focus on some things that's going on as far as what's happened in the past, you know, the March Madness situation. It's been very intriguing this year. A lot of parity on the men's side, a little bit on the women. For the most part, it is what we thought it was going to be on the women's side. A lot of blowouts. A lot of the number one teams are number one teams, and they're showing their dominance. But at the same time, too, you got some guys and you got some teams that creeped up on you. You least suspected on both the men and the women's side of the bracket. A lot of good teams, and I want to talk about some of the noticeable players that I actually have on my list too. Some people who I wasn't expecting to do well, and now that I've seen them in the tourney and to get a chance to see them a lot more, I've been focused on watching them and giving them my undivided attention right now. First, let me get into some of the NFL news. I want to start off with what's going on in the NFL, and it goes a little something like this. ESPN sources say the offensive player of the year, my homeboy, Jackson Smith Jigba from The Ohio State University, reached an agreement with the Seattle Seahawks on a 4-year, $168.6 million contract extension that makes him the highest paid wide receiver right now in the NFL. I feel like that was a really good deal because not only is he a good wide receiver, but I didn't expect him to do as well and excel like he did once DK Metcalf left. But at the same time, right now, him being the highest paid wide receiver, it's only temporarily. We don't see that happening for long. It's going to be somebody who gets a deal that slightly might be more than that, 168.6 million. One of the noticeable names is my man's Puka Nacua. I definitely feel like he'll get a slightly higher deal. The deal average 42.15 million per year, and it includes 120 million guaranteed, both setting records for any wide receiver. So congratulations on that. I definitely felt like it was well deserved. And now I want to focus on a little bit of the stuff that we called March Madness. I definitely enjoyed that. I like what's going on, and I like what I'm seeing right now. And I'm going to just be honest with you. I want to get it all started, and I want to talk about noticeable college Cinderella players. Dominic Daniels, for one. I really felt like he excelled. He's doing really well in this tournament. And what I was surprised about, I didn't expect nothing from Dominic Daniels. You know, he's from Cal Baptist. I just thought when I seen him, I was like, he's on a little bit on the shorter side. I don't know what he's going to do or what he has in store for us. But then I kept hearing his name, you know, Dominic Daniels, Dominic Daniels. So I said he must be worth the actual watch right now. And he was definitely everything I thought he was going to be once they gave him all the hype that they said he was and how good he was. I expected that, but not as good as he was in this tournament, man. I feel like if he had a little bit more help, they would have took down Kansas, and he played exceptionally well. He had 25 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and he only had a turnover. So I really like his play. I like his heart to be a short guy and competitive, and I had to give him credit where credit is due. Another name that's not really a household name that I enjoyed in the tournament was Shosh Gavalugov. Yes, it's a hard name to pronounce, and I'm surprised that I really got to the point where I start hearing his name enough in the tournament and how he did and how he was executing in the tournament that the name just seemed like it stuck with me. He had 16.6 rebounds and 5 assists, and he was just everywhere on the floor, man. He's one of those scrappy players who you might not see in the NBA, but it was damn sure a privilege to see him right now play on a collegiate level. Mason Fazlov, he had 22 points and 7 rebounds in the game that he played. Jalen Burks is another guy I would like to mention too. He had 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 11 long distance. And another name is Tom House. He had 21 points, 4 of 9 from long distance. And I just felt like that was pretty cool that some of these names that you normally won't hear on the regular was guys that I put up on this list. And I wanted to talk about guys that we didn't know and guys who we wasn't as familiar with. And I want to get off into some of the March Madness upsets now. I want to get into that because I feel like it was a few upsets that really caught me off guard. Number 9, Utah State over number 8, Villanova. Was it really an upset being the number 9 in the AC? I don't know. You tell me. But at the same time, what I've seen was Villanova just don't seem like they have it in them. And it's like with them in Kansas, and I've talked about this so many times, they could be a team that can go all the way and win a national championship, like just recently what Villanova did with North Carolina. Broke my heart because I'm a huge North Carolina fan. But at the same time, that's a team can go all the way and a team who can lose in the earlier rounds. And that's what I expected, in this tourney. And I've always was bashing Villanova and saying I didn't think that they was going to make it that far. And they really didn't. Number 9, Utah was over Villanova and they beat number 8, Villanova. The final score was 86-76. Utah State, Mason Foslov scored the 22 points and the 7 rebounds, like I explained. One of the guys who I wasn't used to coming from a smaller school of Utah State stature. And then number 16, Siena, going the distance with number 1, Duke. That surprised everybody. I still feel like, and it's just me not being biased, but I just feel like as a basketball fan, if number 16, Siena had more players to play because they only really had the 5 starters on the floor. And you can tell in that second half they was gassed. If they had a couple more players who could step in and fill those roles, or be some guys who were bench players who could come in and keep the momentum and keep the pressure on Duke while they played, we might not even be talking about Duke right now. And everybody's brackets would be damaged. But other than that, it was really a hell of a game. And Duke at the end persevered. That final score was 71-65. Duke, of course, had Cameron Boozer score 22 points and 13 rebounds. And I feel like Caden Boozer was the one who didn't get the credit where credit was deserved, because I feel like if he didn't come in and step up and play the way he did and make the big baskets that they needed, Duke would definitely been out of this tournament right now. Another one that I thought that was pretty good was number 11, Texas over number 3, Gonzaga. Gonzaga is one of them teams you always feel like they'll play well, but until they don't. At this point right now, number 3 on Gonzaga end up losing in the upset, of course. That final score was 74-68. And Texas took them down, and when they was beating them in the game, I said, hey, man, this game is a little bit to the point it's far-fetched for me, and I think the Gonzaga should be able to do better, and they're not doing what I thought they would do. And then when I looked up, I said, what the hell is going on right now? I was just a little disappointed when I seen this game because it wasn't enough of Gonzaga for me to satisfy me as a player, or it satisfied me as a person who was a fan of the game. And when you look at the score, that final score was 74-68. And the player who I wasn't really expecting to get off like that was, excuse me if I don't pronounce his name right, it was Montez Volkitatis. Montez Volkitatis, that's his name. He scored 17 points and he had 9 rebounds. And just Texas looked really solid. I always thought that Texas, in general, that name is a good football school, but basketball hasn't ever really been shabby as well. I like Kevin Durant. Another team that I looked at, and it was a really good one, and this one really surprised me and probably surprised a lot of people. One of the number 1s went down early, and number 9, Iowa beat number 1, Florida. So it wasn't no repeat champion this season. Florida, reigning defending champs, lost 73-72. Tevion Banks scored 20 points. He had 6 rebounds as well. But Alvaro Figueres hit the game-winning 3-point shot with 4.5 seconds left. pointed up to the sky to his dad, because I believe his dad passed away when he was 9 years old, and he dedicated every game of what he do to his father and his mother. His mother, I don't think, seen him play, and if I'm not mistaken, 8 years, and went to the game to see him shoot that final basket to win the game, man. Oh man, that's what the sport is to be talked about, man. That's what it's all about with these college players. And it was just a really good contest. So to see that one and then to hear some of the news as well really made me feel heartwarmed about this and the way that guy played for his mom and his father. And I want to talk about some of the most shocking games. Was the number 9 St. Louis blowout over number 8 Georgia. Didn't expect that to happen due to the fact that I felt like Georgia being an SEC team would have came and they would have played with a higher intensity and just played with a more of a purpose. And they didn't. So let's be honest. Shame on you, Georgia, getting blown out like that. That final score was 102-77, and nobody expected that. Yeah, even though it's still evenly matched, a number 9 against a number 8. And the Pelicans been playing pretty good this year. I've been hearing that name a lot. Finally got the chance to see what the heck a Pelican was and know what they were all about. And they played good, better than what I expected. And Georgia just came out flat-footed, and that's what happens sometimes. When you underestimate an opponent, that's what happens. St. Louis, Deion Brown scoring a team-high 18 points in that game, but it was like everybody contributed in that one, and that's the reason why they stayed and they advanced, why Georgia unfortunately went home early. And then number 12, High Point versus number 4, Arkansas. Arkansas held on to win that game, and they beat High Point. But one of the people I want to talk about, who I don't think a lot of people was talking about in general, was that brother Darius Cuff. He's been balling as of late. They've been playing really good. And I look at this and I say, man, okay, I'm starting to see what's being made over there in that program. You know, Calipari's over there, and he got those boys playing on a whole nother level. And what I liked about Darius Cuff was just the fact that he's been a household name as of late. And if you guys don't know yet, he got him a Reebok deal right now with, Reebok. And they were saying he's one of the first collegiate guys on the men's side to get him a shoe contract as well. He had 36 points and 6 assists, and he's been looking every the part. And he's been one of the best players in this actual tournament. And I don't think that he got his credit where credit was due. Yes, Arkansas is an SEC team, but to see how good Darius Cuff been playing, and I've been told about him from my co-host on the Google Sports Session, but I didn't think he was going to be this good. So, yeah, give credit what credit is due for Darius Cuff. But then at the same time, I had to give credit, too, because they barely hold on to win that game to, High Point, because I wasn't expecting High Point to play at that level. No pun intended. Number 10, Santa Clara versus number 7, Kentucky. Santa Clara puts Kentucky to the limits. But at the end, Kentucky held on. And that final score was Kentucky avoiding the upset, 89-84. And Uwe was one of the guys who I feel like one of the better players in college in general. And if it wasn't for him, I think Kentucky would have went down because he wasn't going out like that. But the rest of the guys just played flat. It was a sloppy game, but just really enjoyed what I seen. And what I actually saw was just a really hell of a contest right now with March Madness. And I'm definitely enjoying what I've seen right now. It's not, like I said, it's not a lot of parity on the women's side, but it's definitely been on the men's side. And number 10, UCF versus number 7, UCLA. And UCLA barely survived that game. That final score was 75-71, and they avoided the upset. I want to get into on one of the games that I liked was number 6, Louisville versus number 3, Michigan State. They were in for a slugfest. And I felt like just some bad technical decisions or just bad decisions, period. It just seems like they had like hiccups in the game. But if Louisville would have just stayed with the intensity they had in the first quarter and took that into the second quarter without a lot of mental mistakes, Michigan State would have been at home, but they was able to hold on to get that victory. And that final score was 77-69. Very good contest, and I definitely enjoyed that one. But Another good one, which I feel like this one was probably one of the best out of the two games that I've seen. Two games that I felt like, and I'm not really sure. And I would like for you guys to vote. If you could leave your comments, and if you could leave me some comments, I would appreciate that. But these two games were the best ones I've seen. And I'm gonna start off with number 5, Vanderbilt versus number 4, Nebraska. Nebraska was basically a good team, but Vanderbilt already knew about them. I knew about Nebraska too because they took the Michigan Wolverines to the limits this year. I actually thought that game they was going to lose, and I was like, well, okay, they're better than advertised. And that, like I said, was one of the best games I've seen this weekend. With Braden Frager last second layup to win the game, but Tyler Tanner nearly made a 49-foot basket, a half court shot at that, and they nearly made Nebraska go home and heartbroken. So yeah, it was just a really good contest because they was going back and forth the whole game. At one point, Vanderbilt looked like they was going to pull it off, but then that last second basket by Tyler Tanner, I mean not Tyler Tanner, I'm sorry about that. The last second layup by Braylon Frager, but Tyler Tanner had a good game too, man. Damn, them boys was balling, and it felt like an NBA 90s like throwback type game, the way they played and how they fought in that game. But yeah, man, I looked at both teams and I definitely felt like it was a heartbreak, but one team had to lose. And the team who went home was the team I actually thought was going to advance, and that was Vanderbilt. But hey, like I said, that's March Madness, and that's what it's all about. And number 5, St. John's versus number 4, Kansas. That was a really good one as well. And I think that was one of the better games. And that was the second game I've said who's possibly in the lead for the best game I've seen over that weekend. That game went down to the wire with Dylan Darling, of course, scoring his only points in the game and sealing the deal. So yeah, I really felt like that one was one of my favorite games. Kansas just really surprised me because Darren Peterson had a pretty good game. If I'm not mistaken, he had like 26 points in the game. But when they needed him the most, he didn't show up. And that happened in the game, too, when they played earlier in the first round. He did good. And in that first quarter, man, and that first half, better yet, he looked like he was a force to be reckoned with and for sure number 1 overall draft pick. But he just was MIA in that second half. And the same thing happened in that game. And that's the reason why they ended up losing. I was a little surprised in that one, and I thought that it was going to be a little better performance from him, but that just basically clearly let me know I don't think that he'll be the number 1 overall draft pick. No disrespect to Darren Peterson. And they were saying that, he just basically was taking a lot of time off with his ankle injury. He had like a hamstring injury where players just didn't really think he was giving his all. AJ Devanza was one of the guys who actually talked about that. Like he do whatever they need him to do, and he play whenever they want him to play, no matter how many minutes. And I don't really know if it was a shot against Darren Peterson, but a lot of people noticed that he haven't been given all to this team and actual, organization. But still, at the same time, you don't know a person's injury or how they feel. That person only knows themselves. But at the same time, a question that is hard. But yeah, I feel bad because he might be like a 19, 20-year-old kid, and I'm saying this. But still, when you look at it, I just feel like he should have showed up a little bit more in the big moments. That's all I'm saying, because he played well at some parts of the game, and you see the flashes, and then he just disappeared. It disappeared enough to where when they went to the 32 teams, he basically is out of the tournament now. I thought that at least they would have made the Sweet 16 before they got eliminated. And then I want to talk about some things that happened on the women's side of the bracket too as well. Number 9 USC versus number 8 Clemson. With USC pulling off an overtime thriller. USC, Jazzy Davison scored 31 points with 6 rebounds and 5 assists. I'm going to talk about this game a little bit because I was pissed off. I felt like Clemson won the game in regulation, but they said it didn't get off in time. Then the lady got fouled. They said, oh, man, it happened after the buzzer, so it didn't legally count, because I thought that she would have went to the line and been shooting some free throws, and that would have probably sealed the deal as well. But since they said the shot went off too late, for one, they didn't win the game. 2, they went into overtime. And when they went into overtime, it was kind of controversial, if you ask me. But still, at the end of the day, I feel like they got it right. And I mean, USC went on to advance. It didn't matter yesterday though. But as we move on, I want to talk about another number 9 and a number 8 seed that I was surprised about, and that was number 9 Syracuse versus Iowa State. Syracuse beat Iowa State 72-63. Uche Izoje scored 23 points with 7 rebounds. And, I want to give credit where credit's due because I didn't think it was no chance in hell that Syracuse was going to beat Iowa State, definitely with all the Crooks being on that team. But all the Crooks did everything she could for them to win that game. And I definitely say it wasn't her fault because nobody else really stepped up in the game. I mean, if somebody else could at least score 20, damn near 30 points, or at least close to the 30 that she put up, then it would have possibly been a different game. But it didn't work out that way. But all the Crooks from Iowa State, I'm going to give her credit where credit is due. She had most of the team's offense with the 37 points she had and 5 rebounds, but it just still wasn't enough. And they end up going home and not making it to the Sweet 16. Number 5, Ole Miss versus Minnesota was another good game. Amaya Battle buzzer beater sealed the deal, and that final score was 65-63. And Minnesota's Maya Battle also scored 14 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. Really good game, came down to the end, and Maya Battle was the hero of the game. That one could have went anyway, too. I was just surprised that, when I seen that game, because I said, okay, Minnesota's a pretty good team, but I thought Ole Miss had them. Cottie McMahon is one of my favorite players. She used to play for Ohio State, and when she transferred, I said that's going to be a good look for her to go to Ole Miss. It's just that unfortunately, that's the way it is sometimes in March Madness. The teams you expect to win don't win all the time. That's what makes it so exciting. And number 6, Alabama versus number 3, Louisville. That was a heck of a game. Went down to the very last part of the game. I just looked at the game too, and I feel like with Louisville, they had more bigs on the team, a little bit more dominant in the paint. But Alabama had some really good girls who could shoot the ball. I just felt like it was too much in the paint for them, and that's one of the reasons why I thought they lost. Zach Randolph's daughter was over there, and she scored 9 points and 13 rebounds, but she wasn't the player that everybody was talking about, and it's the young lady from Turkey, Elif Istanbuloglu. Yes, that's her name, Elif Istanbuloglu. She scored 18 points with 11 rebounds, and she looked ever the part. She was very dominant. She was dominant in the paint, and she could shoot the long ball. I don't like the big shooting 3-pointers all the time, but if you leave her open, she's a threat to score. But at the same time, she did a lot of damage in the paint. So big ups to Elif Istanbuloglu. I want to move on to, and I want to talk about let me get back to my spot. Number 10, Virginia versus number 2, Iowa. Very disappointing in this game because I felt like at this point with my homegirl, Hannah Stokey, I thought that she was going to at least get to the Sweet 16. I was a decent team, but you don't really hear too much about them. They kind of faltered off, and the main person was Caitlin Clark. You didn't even really say too much about Kate Martin, but Kate Martin's been balling ever since she left Iowa and went to the WNBA. For the most part, it was just unfortunate because she had to take the back seat to Caitlin Clark. But at this point, man, they don't have no high caliber player like a Caitlin Clark on that team. Hannah Stokey was the person who I thought was going to step up and be that person. She played pretty good. Don't get me wrong. She had a heck of a game, and she had like 19 rebounds in the game. I believe she had like 9 points, 19 rebounds, or something of that nature. But I just don't really feel like she did enough. Sometimes it just seemed like when she went up, the big was a little bit too big and physical for her. And I don't think her physicality was there in the game. But it was pretty good. Like I said, Virginia upset number 2 Iowa in double overtime. So it wasn't like they lost in, regulation. It took 2 overtimes to beat them. But at the end, I feel like they were gassed. And the person that I have to give credit where credit is due is Kimora Johnson. She led the team with 28 points and she had 4 assists. What was so cool about her was she was a Virginia ball girl at one point. She had to walk on to the team because I don't think they was going to let her go on the team at first. She was like under the radar. But she went on the team that gave her a tryout, and then she ended up being good, better than advertised. And to have this moment too, being a person who's like a Virginia ball girl, and to be able to go to Virginia and to persevere and win this game over a number 2 seed, and you're a number 10 seed, give credit what credit is due, because Kimora Johnson deserved that, and that's what the March Madness is all about, and that's what I wanted to talk about, and I definitely enjoyed that. Like I said, some very good moments right now in the sport, and this was very exciting for me because as much as I like to talk football, that took a back seat today. As much as I like it, I just want to squeeze just a little bit in to stay relevant and let people know and be aware of what was going on. But I want to close it out, and I want to talk about this game right here too, because yes, I didn't talk about a lot of big teams, because you got the Michigan Wolverines with a blowout victory over St. Louis, and then you had Duke this time, handle business against TCU. Of course, you had UConn on the women's side, dominant as usual. I was surprised. I thought that Iowa State would have put up a better contest than what Syracuse did, because they blew them out really bad. And then you had South Carolina blowout USC. Yes, USC don't have Juju Watkins, and I feel like they're going to have some of the best recruits coming in 2026, 2027. And I feel like it's going to be a little bit different ball game then, because they can probably go all the way. But then when you look at it too, you got, UConn is going to be a younger team, not going to have everybody back, and it's going to be some good stuff going on over there. But until then, I just wanted to focus on the games where I felt that had the relevancy. Wasn't like, because there was a lot of blowouts in this March Madness. Some of the games I had to take a mental break, because yes, on the women's side, like I said, I still feel like 90% of my bracket is still up, because it wasn't a lot of parity. For the ones that I did show, I was really surprised too as well, because I think I lost 3 games already. And I thought that I was going to at least go to the Elite 8 before I lose a game. But like I said, this is March Madness and anything can happen. The last game I want to talk about before I get off the air is the Notre Dame game. Number 6 Notre Dame upset number 3 Ohio State. I know E happy somewhere, and now Coach V, because they don't too much care about me even saying the name. But be that as it may, Ohio State, I thought, was the better team, and they ended up falling down and losing this game to number 6 Notre Dame. That final score was 83-73. Notre Dame, of course, no other than Hannah Hidalgo, had another hell of a game. Hannah Hidalgo scoring 26 points and 13 rebounds, man. I don't think people know how small she is. I think they're probably giving her a favor. That girl probably 5'3", 5'2" at best. And the way she play, man, she's a Tasmanian devil. I love her because of her grit and the way she play. Sometimes bigger players and who have really good defense, like I seen UConn smother Notre Dame and other teams like from the Big Ten, because we got a lot of big girls over there. But it was cool to see her really have her moment, because we all like Hannah Hidalgo, and I just like to see her play at her best. Like I said, man, everybody believed that the number 3 was the better team, but Hannah has something to say about that. And to see them go down was actually pretty cool, because I want to see at least Hannah Hidalgo go to the Sweet 16. Do I believe she could make it to the Elite 8? Depends. She got a big enough heart that could help drive that team to get there, but who knows? I would like to say at the same time, too, I want to close this out by saying that, yes, we're on a new platform right now, StreamYard, and the Guru's production. I'm going to be doing more productions and doing things of that nature. But then at the same time, I would like to give credit and give shouts out to my man's eBuck for helping me as far as my studio paralysis and be able to dissect and do some of the things that I've been doing now. I've been really making strides on the production part and doing different things as far as my brand, getting used things like cool intros and getting more stuff out there for you as far as my promos as well. But at this note, I would like to say, too, you can reach me at Instagram, Whoovi, WHOOVI. You can reach me too as well on Facebook as Sports Guru to You, where I put a lot of breaking news and things that's going around all the leagues. And now it's going to be open today pretty soon, so it's going to be more baseball talk as well. And of course, TikTok, Hugh.lee6. And if you want to leave me any comments or anything or talking about any other sport, because if you don't feel like I'm talking too much about a sport, hell, hockey, curling, whatever it may be, you can also reach me too at my page, my YouTube page. And that's Hugh413 at gmail.com. And my sports page is the sports guru to you at gmail.com. I would like to say thank you all. I want to give a shout out to Nighthawk Network, everybody on the network, you know who you are. And on that note, I would like to say thank you all to my family and friends and loved ones. Appreciate you. Continue to get me them likes, man. Click them links and subscribe. But at the same time, I would like to say all of y'all be blessed. Don't stress. Let the Lord handle the rest. And until then, I will see you next Tuesday.